Welcome to another Ramblings of a Madman video. This time I'll share a list of the games I hated playing the most. I rarely hate playing a game, but sometimes comes something that is extremely bad that every minute feels like a torture to me. Or sometimes there's an instance of a great game that I just hate to play because of a reason that is subjective, which is also fine and has nothing to do with the game's quality. Some of the games on the list are the ones that I've played or tried to play for the channel to get some sort of coverage, while a couple of them aren't on the channel. This list was inspired by Rise of the Ronin, the worst Team Ninja game to date that I hated playing because of all the typical Team Ninja cheap and lazy bollocks in games, bloated systems, copy-paste from their other IPs and so on. It's also a below average game for the 10 hours that I've spent with it. So definitely Ronin goes on the list. What are the others though, you hateful bastards? Let's start with an actually great game, by far the best on this list quality-wise. It's Underrail, a fantastic CRPG inspired by old Fallouts made in the neighboring country of Serbia. I love when Balkan developers manage to break out with games such as Serious Sam, Underrail, Talos Principle, Knights of Honor, Tsar, Scorn and probably a lot more. So what is the problem? Problem is very subjective and it's on me. Game did nothing wrong, but I just couldn't look at it. The art style just didn't connect with me. It did the opposite. I couldn't look at the game despite being very interested in the game itself. You know that instant feeling of disgust when you look at something for the very first time and realizing it's never going to go away no matter what? Unfortunately, that has happened to me with Underrail. Don't take this the wrong way, I'm not a gamer that looks at graphics as something important because I've played far worse graphical games like Skald being the most recent one, as I don't take away value from RPGs because of graphics. Sometimes something great comes like this game and you just have a problem with it no matter if the game's quality is something you're aware of. Underrail is a game I can't recommend enough, most CRPG fans would love it. We move on to an actual bad game, that is Valkyrie Elysium. Terrible product that I hated every minute of. Game with no good things about it, with flawed combat design, subpar writing, bad exploration, terrible lore. Only good thing about it might be the cel-shaded style that I like, but that's subjective and has no relevance for the game's quality, of which there is none. People actually defended this piece of shit product, but people have also defended Rise of the Ronin, so what else is there to say for this trash of a game? There are people that can still enjoy it, but enjoyment is subjective and has nothing to do with the game's quality. Next on the list is Is Feudal MMO. I was on sites that offered small promotions like $30 to $50 to play their games and put them on the channel. Some of you are aware of such games on the channel. Sometimes these games can be surprisingly good, but most times they are not. I generally don't like MMOs anymore after playing a bunch of them in my early 20s because of time investment needed to progress and general low content quality outside of raids, dungeons and PvP. Is Feudal is a survival MMO where everything takes a long time to make, so of course I hated every minute of it. Just finding a land to start building something took me an hour or two. For a couple dozen hours that I played the game I didn't experience any fighting from what I remember, and even if there was some, it would end up badly for me due to lack of practice. So what did I do? Collect resources and build basic houses while trying to survive through eating berries and fishing. It was one of the most boring gaming experiences of my life, but to people that adore time wasting grindy games and don't mind hours of digging to make the earth flat to build a house on it while the snow is falling and raising the ground level every few minutes, there could be something to find that agrees with them. Objectively, I can't tell you how good or bad the game is, haven't spent enough time with it to get to a point of understanding everything and to progress enough to experience proper fighting, living in castles and being part of a community. Mechajammer is another CRPG with the art style that bothered me too much to progress past the first few hours. I can't stand pixelated graphics and Mechajammer went all in with it. Couldn't look at it to play for more than the first hour or two, so had to ditch it. Mechajammer is far from a bad game or anything like that. It was decent for those first couple hours. Felt bad about the video a bit due to the key being given for free to cover the game, so I wanted to explain my subjective disdain to the developer in an apologetic way. Though I did point out in the first impression video that my subjectivity should be ignored and that it's the reason I can't make a more detailed video about the game due to lack of progression. Decent game, but pixelated style is something I despise and can tolerate only in a few games. Diablo 3. What a disaster that game was. I never liked hack-and-slash Diablo-esque RPGs because most capitalize on low-quality designs to artificially prolong game time, but usually these games have really good character leveling systems. Well, Diablo 3 had nothing good. Even the change of art style was wrong, as it killed any sort of atmosphere that Diablo 1 and 2 brought to the table. It was one of the reasons I liked both of those games and despised the third. To me, Diablo 3 is one of the worst games of all time when talking about the vanilla version of the game. I tried playing through the first expansion, Reaper of Souls, that actually improved the game, but the accumulated boredom and contempt from vanilla and the fact I had to go through that again to get to the expansion was too much. Later on, Diablo 3 became a bit better, but in the end it's the most forgettable game in the Diablo-esque genre I've ever played and by far the worst. It doubled down on everything bad about the genre and forgot what was so great about the first two Diablo games. Animations were great though, discounting the fact that Monk strikes with palms, with swords and maces in his hands and similar bollocks. Low quality games like Diablo 3 are saved by their online component. Lots of people enjoyed the game to an extent due to playing with their friends, partners, whatever. That is great, but playing multiplayer can obscure a lot of the bad stuff simply because the player's attention is on the actions of the team more and not on the game itself to be able to notice the small details. We have to include Bethesda and their game Starfield on the list. What a shift that studio has seen, from beloved games such as Morrowind to mediocrities like Starfield. Bethesda is for a reason one of the most hated studios at the moment, and not only that they can't make a good game anymore, but they also try to explain how great their games are to the people who played them and have seen how mediocre or even subpar they actually are. Also, shenanigans with mods didn't help their reputation. Starfield, Bethesda's new IP, unlike Fallout that wasn't theirs, showcased how they don't have what it takes anymore. I hated playing it because of the lack of content and overall mediocrity at everything. A game that has no ability to excite, especially with that clunky engine which didn't help. Brilliant idea to make a space RPG, but not a realistic space RPG. Realistic in the sense that there is nothing on the planets. It's devoid of anything significant, which is a shame because the potential is unlimited with such an idea. Instead, we can walk on new planets for 90% of the time without finding anything of significance. Straw that broke the camel's back was when I explored a cave on the planet and then went to another planet, explored it a bit, entered another cave that had the same layout as the first one. Uninstall, goodbye, auf Wiedersehen. Thank the fuck I didn't play Fallout 76 considering that Starfield might be a masterpiece when compared to that crap. Bleak Fate Forsaken is a Souls-like that got instant reputation as it looked very promising. Soon after the official release I tried the game and hated how broken, buggy and in alpha stage it was. An utter disaster of release, one of the worst I've experienced in my life. From what I've read lately, it seems that it has improved drastically over time and is now considered to be a decent to good game even. Game definitely had potential by hitting some right notes like the atmosphere and interesting locations. Gameplay had potential too, but it was too clunky to enjoy. Might give it a try one of these days just to see what has been going on. I love a good turnaround story when developers don't give up and instead manage to get themselves out of the quicksand. Next one is Dragon Age Veilguard. Do I need to say anything here? It's a bad game, has nothing good in it, not even combat, and it fails in almost every RPG aspect. Bland, boring, dead world, political bollocks, you name it. Any bad aspect of a game you can think of, this game has it. Except for combat that isn't bad, but it's average at best. I'd say subpar, which is below average. Garbage game that shouldn't have existed in the first place. I've heard that most people working on it got fired. Deservedly so. What I also read is that Veilguard's creative director is now working on Baldur's Gate 4. Poor Baldur's Gate. Are they going to try to destroy another popular franchise? They killed Dragon Age a long time ago, with Veilguard being the final nail in the coffin. Bethesda killed Fallout, one of the most beloved CRPGs ever. Elder Scrolls 6 has no chance to be good considering that even vanilla Skyrim wasn't particularly great and that was million years ago. Obsidian has gone to shit. Hoping for some new talent with new IPs to replace the horror some of the legendary studios and legendary IPs have become. Next one on the list is Greedfall 2 Early Access. Bear in mind that it's a very promising game. Style changed from the first one, which was already great, and to see them make a Dragon Age style CRPG from it and do it well makes me really happy. However, there was a particular problem why I hated playing Early Access: the crashes. Constant crashes that also crashed Windows almost every time it happened. I was dreading playing the game, and then going berserk watching my PC die over and over again. I even left the PC in a shop for diagnostics and repair because I thought there was a problem on my side. There wasn't. Crashes drove me nuts, and I hope I won't remember it anymore when the full release comes. Don't want PTSD from all the bloody crashes. Promising game though. Chronos from the Ashes is a specific crap of a game that was originally made for VR and afterwards remade into a normal video game. I don't know the VR version, but the normal version is one of the most basic and shallow games I've played. Prequel to Remnant from the Ashes that does very little in terms of lore. Utterly bland and uninteresting world and locations. Shallow and basic combat to such an extent that is detrimental, as it doesn't have anything dynamic and diverse about it. Same repetitive moves over and over again. Hated playing it so much that I couldn't even finish such a short game that takes 8 to 10 hours to finish. It's a game stripped of everything interesting that plays like a corpse of its far better predecessor Remnant from the Ashes. It's a game that shouldn't have existed because association with Remnant is now permanent. It's like Mortal Kombat Mythology's Sub-Zero. Completely different game in the series that no one wanted, done in such a way that no one should ever play it because they wouldn't miss out on anything. Why release such a product is beyond me. Remember Gollum? Yeah, I've played it for a few hours. No explanation needed why I hated it. It's one of the worst games of all time. At least games like Veilguard, Chronos from the Ashes, Diablo 3 and similar ones can hardly go into the category of worst games when accounting all the genres. Gollum can though, easily. Disaster of epic proportions, and as a Lord of the Rings fan I hated every second of it. Last one on the list is Risen. I never liked Piranha Bytes due to the disastrous clunky gameplay from the Risen series. It put me off even trying Alex, because in the trailers I've spotted the same issue. Never played the original Gothic by the way, so can't comment on that game. Why I hated Risen so much is because it came out at the time of the dark ages of CRPGs, when besides Dragon Age Origins there was nothing to play from more traditional RPGs. So I tried and tried playing it again and again and hated it every time more and more. Not because of the writing or the atmosphere, which was more than decent from what I remember, but the gameplay was unbearable. So freaking clunky. First time I installed Risen I played it for an hour or two and then uninstalled thinking that there was a mistake during the installation and that's why the gameplay was so clunky. So I reinstalled the bloody thing thinking it's going to get better and that this gameplay couldn't possibly be what the developers intended. Well, it was as intended. Tried Risen 3 as well for a couple of hours before ditching that one too. Same issues, same result. Kudos to people who managed to get through Risen and Alex, you are true RPG soldiers. Anyway, that is the list. I could have forgotten some games here and there, but that is mostly it. Merch, Patreon, subscribes are in the description and thanks for watching.